Well, now we know. Let me say this. You guys come to this channel, you know that there is the potential at times for some savagery. There is obviously going to be a very vocal opinion expressed from time to time on certain things. And now we come to the Crusader Mercury. And let me just start off by saying this. I really fucking like this ship. Now, of course, we know that tomorrow we're going to see a lot more shots of this ship, a lot more explanation. This is just kind of the primer. And what do we get? What do we see immediately? We got a little bit of asymmetry, digging it, loving the asymmetry. You know, there's a little bit, you know, when people go, oh, you know, spaceships look so samey. Well, you know, asymmetry kind of combats that and makes every ship a little bit more unique. And this has got it with just a little touch, just a dash of the Ebon Hawk. When I look at it, I see a little bit of the Ebon Hawk, especially up in the cockpit configuration, which looks pretty damn good. Now, of course, we don't have an interior view to work off of and kind of make that final judgment, but it looks to be very well positioned, and there even seems to be a little bit of a slanted downward panel, possibly allowing for a bit of a downward view, opening up the pilot's situational awareness. I dig it. I really, really do dig it. Now, yesterday I talked about this a little bit, and I kind of mentioned the Caterpillar, and I was like, I don't know if this thing would take on the Caterpillar, you know, if this thing could take its place. But what do you know? Now I'm kind of looking at it and thinking it obviously is going to cost pretty much almost twice as about twice as much in a little bit as a Cutlass, but what we could be looking at is something of a Cutlass killer. Now, you know that I don't make a statement like that lightly, because you know how much I love the Cutlass. But, you know, the Cutlass has always felt like where CIG was going to drop the Cutlass, it was going to end up being something of a short-range ship. You know, planet to space, space to planet, that sort of thing. It wasn't really meant to have long legs. It was meant to be sort of like a local type thing. Whereas this seems to be a ship that is built to have a little bit more legs, a little bit more space inside. And I'm really, really digging it. I really, really am. Now, when I mentioned the price earlier, I was talking about recycled money, which it's, I guess, $225 for the ship recycled money, $200 for new money. And I feel that, I feel that the pricing appears to be appropriate. There's things that we don't know. SCU, how much does it carry? We don't know. Though, in, the write-up that we have of it so far, actually, wait, let me pull up that graphic. All right, there it is. A generous traditional cargo capacity plus data banks with onboard encryption protocol, and liberal use of maintenance access bays are Dugan and Hoolan's bread and butter. So I'm guessing, a little bit of smuggling isn't unknown with this ship, but it seems to be the Cutlass and the Herald kind of intermingled, though this doesn't really seem to have the E-War, the transmission type capability that the Herald might have. That might be the distinguishing difference between the two, whereas this thing is meant more to kind of encrypt, decrypt data and move it. So that might be where the Herald still has a role in the universe, but data theft, data smuggling, traditional cargo smuggling, I mean, it's kind of like a one-size-fits-all solution for a criminal enterprise. And at first I was a little bit shocked that it wasn't a Drake ship. Now up front, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if every Drake ship was built around the idea of being a criminal star, I mean, it would become kind of like a stupid meme, right? It makes sense that other ships would get appropriated into these enterprises, whether they were intended for them or not, which is, you know, another thing when we initially discussed the possibility of the smuggling ship, and people are going, well, it's a stupid idea. Who would, you know, you can't just sell a ship as a smuggling ship. Well, of course you can't sell a ship as a smuggling ship. I mean, you know, it's like, excuse me, officer, where can I place my suitcase of cocaine, if you don't mind? You know, of course not. You know, no one markets it like that. It would be something like deep space exploration, or in this case, data running with comfort and cargo capacity at high speed. And, oh, by the way, turns out it also works very well for this and this. And so, I mean, like, the fact that it isn't a Drake ship, I mean, would it have been cooler as a Drake ship? I think that kind of falls into my one, admittedly very slight criticism, which has a big asterisk attached to it as well, which is that it's a little bit on the fancy side. It's a little bit on the fancy and smooth side, and you kind of think that a criminal ship would be a little bit more rough around the edges, though, of course, get into a few scrapes, dodge a few laser bolts, or maybe fail to dodge a few laser bolts, and it'll probably look right at home at Grim Hex or any other hive of scum and villainy. You know, it's, yeah, I'm digging it. I'm solidly digging it. Weaponry-wise, you know, it seems just a touch on the light side, but, you know, adjustments can be made, as always. It's close enough to what I would expect that, yeah, not really overly concerned with it. It's something more like a wait and see thing rather than that's a major blind spot there. I think you might want to rethink that. It seems to be in a good place. It seems to have started in the right place, and it seems to be a solid design, a solid idea. Of course, we're going to see more of it. We're going to see interior shots. We're going to get a lot more of that stuff, and we'll be able to make, you know, a much more thorough appraisal. But my initial reaction is this is solid. This is a amazingly solid design. You know, up front, it's got a little dash of the Ebonhawk to it, at least to my eye. I feel that, yeah, I feel that it's a pretty damn good ship. It looks like a damn good ship. I would almost argue one small point on this, and this is entirely subjective, so this isn't a detractor in any way, but I would almost like to argue one very small little point. In the back, where you see these thrusters, there's one kind of round cylindrical thruster, and then there's these two kind of angled flat kind of thruster ideas. I would like to argue that if you had produced one single exhaust that was kind of a level flat band, like the exhaust on the Millennium Falcon, just, you know, tailored to that width, I think that would be, in my eyes, from my, you know, once again, from my taste, my point of view, that would be a little tip of the hat to the greatest smuggling ship of all time. And I think it would be just that perfect little touch that would make this ship so much better. But once again, in my eyes only. However you feel about it is up to you. It's just the broken up thruster design, I think, underserves the ship. I think that is the one artistic weak point I would point out on the ship. Once again, though, highly subjective. That's my opinion. Now, one thing that I want to focus on, I wanted to go back to this image here and look at the nose of the ship, how it has that flat panel that's angled kind of upwards, meeting the windscreen. I hope that that's a clear glass panel. I really, really do. I think that, you know, honestly, if you kind of hit with that, then you're looking at a really well-designed cockpit plenty of view for the pilot. It could be a solid winner. Don't compromise it by going like, oh well, you know, gotta have all these dials and knobs. You know, you can have, realistically, how many actual controls are you gonna allow people to use? How many do we have right now? 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 or 9, 10, 11 in the future. Don't need all that much panel space for that. And displays can always be projected in someone's helmet. Think about that when you're designing this ship, please and thank you. Apart from that, I'll wait and see till we get a little bit more of a look at it. Maybe check out the Q&A, but I don't know, man. This thing looks pretty damn good. I was wondering if this was going to be the Caterpillar killer, but this thing might be the Cutlass killer, my friends. This thing just might be the Cutlass killer. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.